Here in the summer of 2007, in this nondescript square room in a Montana prison, the State Board of Pardons and Parole was making history. Never before had a man in Barry Beach's position been given such an opportunity to make his case for freedom after so many years in prison.
Remember, the board could recommend that Montana's governor pardon Beach, commute his sentence, make him eligible for parole, or leave Beach at Montana State Prison probably forever.
We will reconvene the Beach clemency hearing.
But one last thing. The board would open a second hearing to listen to people. Ordinary people who wanted to talk about Barry Beach and to make personal pleas for his release.
He said, "You need to concentrate on my voice. I'm going to get you out of this block."
There was the female prison guard who told of nearly passing out on a cell block once. She came to thank Beach, who, she said, protected her from what could have been unspeakable harm.
But I owe that to him, and that's a debt that I could never pay, no matter what I do.
And then, a virtual who's who of Montanans. A former state senator who said Beach helped quell tensions during a near riot. The chief actuary for Montana's state fund, who met Beach in prison ministry.
I would have no problem with him staying overnight in my home.
And finally, a surprise witness. Pam Johnson, the victim's sister, Barry Beach's one-time girlfriend, who'd always harbored doubts about the conviction. Still, after all these years, unable to believe.
She's not emotionally capable of speaking right now, so I'd just like to read what she wrote last night. Barry and I were close friends years ago, and I honestly believe that Barry did not kill my sister. Finding the truth will set Barry free, as he should be. And that's from her heart.
All those wishing to be heard have been heard.
Minutes later, the unprecedented hearing was history.
This hearing stands in adjournment.
And Barry Beach was cuffed and shackled, temporarily at least, for his return to the Montana State Prison. Would it be for the last time?
I'll never give up until I walk out. The truth is there, and the truth is I did not kill Kim Neese.
For Beach's mother, dreams of her son's release were consuming her.
It will take a while for both of us to catch our breath, I'm sure.
But you imagine the moment.
It's impossible not to. 24 years is a long time to wait for that.
But for the sheriff who put Beach behind bars, any decision by Montana's Board of Pardons and Parole to offer Beach clemency or commute his life without parole sentence would be devastating. If they vacate the judgment, it says that your belief in the veracity of that confession was false.
No. What it says is that someone else killed Kimberly Neese, and no one else killed Kimberly Neese.
Your confidence is overwhelming.
Good.
And then, silence. A week went by, no decision, then 2. And after 3 weeks of private deliberation behind closed doors, the Board of Pardons and Paroles issued an email. It had reached a decision, and it was unanimous. In the matter of Barry Beach, the answer was no. No pardon, no commutation, no clemency, no parole, period. Barry Beach stays in prison for life, no appeal.
My initial reaction was one of utter disbelief.
For Centurion Ministries, it was quite simply stunning. They didn't buy a single one of your arguments.
Not one.
Centurion believed it had proved Beach's confession was clearly false, but the board called it, quote, as compelling as fingerprints and consistently in keeping with the actual physical evidence. Centurion had pointed out that none of the physical evidence, like footprints or fingerprints or the palm print, connected Beach to the crime, but the board wrote that there was no reason to believe the footprints are in any way connected to this murder, and said the telltale bloody palm print had little probative value. Centurion had presented witnesses who offered evidence Kim Neese was killed by a group of girls, but the board called their testimony amorphous statements and said the victim's wounds were more typically reflective of a single assailant than any group.
This case did not have any kind of persuasive force to it.
The parole board declined Dateline's requests for interviews. But for former prosecutor Mark Roscoe, the decision confirmed what he had always believed to be a righteous conviction.
So now the questions have all been laid to rest.
Well, I think all of the reasonable questions that people can answer, everything that could be done has been done in order to answer every question that people have.
Well, not quite. Centurion Ministries founder Jim McCloskey and attorney Peter Camille, who'd worked for nearly a decade on the Beach case, said it seemed to them Montana's Board of Pardons and Paroles simply ignored or twisted the evidence pointing to Beach's innocence.
Their opinion exhibited a real distortion of the facts of the case. In the end, we really have to question their sincerity.
That's a pretty serious charge. Pretense, question their sincerity.
Absolutely.
What then happens to Barry Beach? Does he die in prison?
Not if we can help it.
Bravado, perhaps? Or an insatiable need to tilt at windmills? It surely seemed the campaign to free Barry Beach was lost. But what happened next? Well, you have to see to believe.
When we come back, new witnesses after more than 30 years, and they shed a whole new light on the case.
I could hear all these girls hollering and saying, "Get her."
When Whispers in a Small Town continues.